Hello and welcome back once again for our next tutorial. This is our lesson number 9, and in this lesson our focus is going to be on what we discussed previously. We looked at queries and we described the different kinds of queries, and in this particular tutorial we are going to look at the text queries basically. Now, we have been given a question right here that requires us to create several queries, and just scrolling down the question, we can see the instructions are right there. Create a table and save it as basic data. Populate the table with the data above. That means the data in the table, which is in this question. And then finally create a query to display part A, people whose first name starts with letter K, save it as letter K. People whose second name ends with letter S, save it as letter S. Part C, people with letter A anywhere in the middle of their first name, and save it as letter A. And then part D says people who are from Wakiso, save it as Wakiso. I can zoom for the question to be seen clearly. So that is what we're going to be dealing with, and this is our question. Now let's look at how to approach those several questions or the several instructions. So here is our database that has been created with the table they told us, which is basic data, and the instructions have been very clear. Create queries. The first one says a query to display the people whose F name starts with the letter K. Now we already know how to create the queries. So let's go and create that query that has been asked of us. Now we go to create, then query design. Our table is right here, so we add it. Close off this dialog. Then basically list for the start with all the fields. So I'll go and add all the fields right there. Now we come to create a query that we've been told to create. Now, in queries, there's something that we call the criteria. A criteria is like what you have to follow, or what database will have to follow in order to return what you want exactly. Now, they told us in the first instruction that we create a query that will return members whose first name starts with letter K. Now the criteria is first name letter K. So we come to this option for criteria and look for first name. Just a moment. It has letter K. So we come to first name and a criteria and letter K. Now, if at all they have said starts with, that means letter K is the starting letter. But remember, after this letter K, there are other characters that follow. And how do we represent those characters? We add an asterisk. And if I can just zoom this, that is how our criteria is going to look like. K asterisk. Then you say okay. After that you come and run. When we run, indeed we are able to see that this is first name, and all the members that have been displayed here, their names are starting with letter K. So we go and now save this query. Come to save. They told us to save it as letter K. Letter K. We save that. The second query, so we can close off this. In the second query, they told us to create a query to display the members whose second name, S name, ends with letter S. So we want to see all those members whose second name ends with letter S. We can check through the table. How many are they? They are about 4. That means database has to return only 4 members. So we go to create, query design, basic data is our table. We close off this dialog. We add all the fields. Now this time around we are going to look at S name. Now we go to surname, and we said the last letter is letter S. So if it's last letter, then our criteria is going to start with the asterisk and then finally letter S. This implies letter S is the final letter in our string of characters that we are going to find in the display. So that means the asterisk is trying to imply that there are letters before letter S, and letter S is the last letter. So if I zoom this is what it looks like. Characters before letter S, and letter S is the last one. Then we run, and indeed here we can see there is James, there is Didas, there is Zeus, Deus, and then Moses. I don't know why Alex is showing up here. I can't tell the reason. Maybe I will just sort that, but as we can see, that is what is supposed to be displayed. So I don't know why Alex is coming in here. So that is it now. We have those members being displayed. There are 5. Then our next instruction says a query to display members with letter A anywhere in the middle of their first name. So we go to first name. We've not saved this query, so we can save it first. Save, and they told us to save it as letter S. So that when it's saved, we can close it as well. Then we go to another query. So we go and create query design. We add our table. Of course it's just one. We close off this. We add all the fields. They're right there. Now we come and to the criteria, first name with letter A anywhere in the middle. So we start with the asterisk to imply there are letters before letter A, and then asterisk to imply there are other letters after letter A, but it's under first name alone. So we come and run this one, and here they are. Everyone here has at least letter A anywhere in the middle of the name, and that is how it is. So we save this one as letter A. Okay, then we come to the next query or the next instruction, which says people who are from Wakiso, and save it as Wakiso. So we come, I can close off this. We come to create query design. Now this time around we are working on the district, which is Wakiso. So we add all the fields right here. We add all the fields. Then we come to district, because that's where Wakiso is found. Then we type in Wakiso. That means people who are coming from Wakiso. Then we run. And if we may check through, all these ones are from Wakiso. How many are they? They are 5. If we go to our table, how many should they be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the people from Wakiso have been displayed. Then we come and save it as Wakiso. And finally, the query requires, the instruction requires us to create a query with members who are not from Wakiso. So we come and create query design. We add our table, close the dialog, add all the fields. And if we want members who are not from Wakiso, then we start with the word not Wakiso. Not Wakiso. Then we run. As you may see, those who have been displayed are not from Wakiso. They are all coming from either Soroti or Jinja. So we can save this one here as not Wakiso, the way we instructed. But we also have another way of creating this creating that query. Maybe you have another option. If we can give it a try, we add close. Still, we want members who are not from Wakiso. Just another way of doing it. We can come to district and we use these symbols, those two symbols. Then we put Wakiso. That implies members outside Wakiso. When we run, we still get the same results. So that's just another way. And this is how the criteria looks like. This is how the criterion looks like. So not Wakiso, or the two less and greater than signs, then Wakiso, to imply outside the Wakiso bracket. So that brings us to the end of this tutorial, which has highlighted the use of, which has highlighted the text criteria. We still have more text criteria that we can still look at, but for the basic ones, that is what we have looked at in this particular tutorial. In the preceding tutorials, we are still going to look at more of them. And so I don't need to save this one, but you have seen the procedure. So with that, we come to the end of this tutorial, and let's wait for the next tutorial. Thanks for watching, and be blessed.